Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. In today's program, we are going to talk about the historic engagement between US President Donald Trump and Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir. This historic engagement marks a significant and a defining moment in the history of Pakistan-US relations. Also reflects a new level of recognition of Pakistan's military leadership on the global stage. Inter-Services Public Relations has come up with a statement. Let me quote that. During the meeting, the Chief of Army Staff conveyed the deep appreciation of the government and the people of Pakistan for President Trump's constructive and result-oriented role in facilitating a ceasefire between Pakistan and India in the recent regional crisis. The Chief of Army Staff acknowledged President Trump's statesmanship and his ability to comprehend and address the multifaceted challenges faced by the global community. President Trump, in turn, lauded Pakistan's ongoing efforts for regional peace and stability and appreciated the robust counter-terrorism cooperation between the two sides. Both the sides reaffirmed their commitment to continued collaboration in the field of counter-terrorism. A detailed exchange of views also took place on the prevailing tensions between Iran and Israel, with both leaders emphasizing the importance of resolution of the conflict, unquote. We've also seen President Donald Trump saying after this particular meeting, the reason I had him, referring to Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, him here was that I wanted to thank him for not going into war with India. These two very smart people decided not to keep going with a war that could have been a nuclear war. Pakistan and India are two big nuclear powers. I was honored to meet him today, unquote. Now, this important, significant meeting between the two leaders comes in the wake of the significant and very important, crucial, in fact, the role played by US President Donald Trump when it came to making Pakistan and India reach a ceasefire after India resorted to illegal unilateral aggression against Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity. After that, President Donald Trump also offered his mediation as far as the resolution of the long-standing Jammu and Kashmir dispute is concerned. We've also seen President Donald Trump thanked Pakistan's government in a State of the Union address on 4th of March regarding the arrest of the Abigail attack mastermind. There have been a number of developments as far as this particular current trajectory of the Pakistan-US relationship is concerned. Another major development that needs attention at the moment, a phone call between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India happened, and there is a press statement by the Foreign Secretary of India. Let me quote that also, that Prime Minister Modi told President Trump clearly that during this period there was no talk at any stage on subjects like India-US trade deal or US mediation between India and Pakistan. Talks for ceasing military action happened directly between India and Pakistan through existing military channels, and on the insistence of Pakistan Prime Minister, Modi emphasized that India has not accepted mediation in the past and will never do, unquote. This particular aspect also needs to be assessed and discussed in detail, for which we will be talking to our panelists. Also specifically reverting back to that very statement by Inter-Services Public Relations regarding this particular meeting between President Donald Trump and Chief of Army Staff Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir. Let me quote another excerpt. Discussions also encompassed avenues for expanding bilateral cooperation in multiple domains, including trade, economic development, mines and minerals, artificial intelligence, energy, cryptocurrency, and emerging technologies. President Trump expressed keen interest in forging a mutually beneficial trade relationship with Pakistan based on long-term strategic convergence and shared interests, unquote. We've also seen a major development as far as Pakistan's finance minister having a virtual engagement with the US Commerce Secretary regarding enhancing the trade and economic ties between the two countries is concerned. Let me quickly bring in our esteemed panel of guests who are both joining us in the studio as well as online. In the studio, we are joined by Dr. Shafqat Munir, Senior Analyst. Dr. Munir, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Also in the studio, we are honored to be joined by Mr. Sangeen Panezai, his Security Analyst and expert in international relations. Mr. Panezai, thank you very much for your time also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. I'll be introducing the guests who will be joining us later in the show as they join in. Dr. Munir, first of all, the key takeaways from this very important, significant and historic engagement between President Donald Trump and Chief of Army Staff Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, and how does it reflect the current trajectory of the Pakistan-US bilateral relationship?
I think we should take this important meeting in the context of Pakistan's continued foreign policy and security strategic approach. In both of ways, Pakistan has earned this status now at the moment through a continuous and rigorous efforts on the diplomatic front, clarifying all misconception created by India that Pakistan is somehow, they were blaming that has been part of any kind of terrorist activities inside India or anywhere. This impression has been lost now. The word is clear that Pakistan itself is facing extremism, terrorism in Pakistan inside, and globally it is against all these kind of groups, and that has been proven by Pakistan's actions, practical action, and US is witness of that. Even the CENTCOM journal, which the meeting took place between the two military leaders,
is also,
also testifies that Pakistan, is on that one. This security strategic approach plus a diplomatic initiative, which was the policy framework, was that Pakistan is not in one camp. Pakistan has all the friends around. China is a friend, America is a friend, European Union, we have good relation, and the Middle East and other countries. So in that way, the only Indian side was left behind, that Pakistan has strained relation because of their attitude. Otherwise, on the diplomatic front, Pakistan has repaired all fissures which have been in the past, and these two successes or struggle together brought this movement that the President of US says that I am proud and I am happy to meet a gentleman who is a military guy but he is pro-peace. So this kind of narrative Pakistan has been successful in building across the world, and it is witnessed that Pakistan has shown with war with India recently, restraint, only defense, not aggressive attitude. And even when the position came that we should not go into war, which would have been a very serious war, certainly President Trump said this, and you quoted him saying, and that point is very important, that Pakistan is the country which wants peace. That we established two ways. One, that showing restraint in the conflict, secondly through our diplomatic missions and through our continued diplomatic efforts. I think these two things combined took us to that level. On diplomatic front, Pakistan is always saying that we are open to trade with India, with US or with China or any other countries. So that urge was there, and even when President Trump put the tariff across the world, Pakistan was not negatively sounding on it. Pakistan said if they are of the opinion that there is a scope of negotiation, we will enter into negotiation. And now, since then, the very first day, Pakistan constructively engaged with the US,
quite receptive of the new reality, and also wanted to resolve that particular issue through negotiation, through constructive dialogue. I'll come back
and continued engagement.
Continued engagement. Just most recently, we have that very engagement between Pakistan's finance minister and the commerce secretary.
Even before that, foreign minister and deputy prime minister.
Exactly. I'll come to that particular point also. Mr. Panezai, when President Donald Trump says regarding this particular meeting with the Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, the reason I had him here was that I wanted to thank him for not going into war with India, unquote. How significant this particular statement is, and how does it reflect on the very nature of Pakistan's leadership understanding regarding bringing in peace, ensuring restraint, bringing in peace, trying for that, making strides for that. that the regional peace and stability and security is not disturbed despite that unilateral illegal action by India?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. Yes, absolutely. It's really a matter of honor for the Pakistan diplomatic and strategic community. And first of all, Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir Sahab deserve appreciation and gratitude for projecting Pakistan at the international level. He becomes the first Army Chief being invited by the to watch by the US President. It's really a matter of an honor. Second, responding to your question, yes, absolutely. If we see the mindset, the personality of Donald Trump, he seems to gel well, develop good relations with the powerful leadership. Case in point is the Chinese President Xi Jinping or maybe Putin. So after the successful response by the Pakistani side in Operation Bunyad Marsus, so the perception, as Dr. Sab rightly mentioned, the perception which has been going on for across the even in the European capital, across the world, that Pakistan seems to be isolated. But what it reflected, what it showed, that Pakistan seems to, despite the disparity vis-a-vis the eastern neighbor, yet Pakistan responded extremely well with our conventional capability, number one. Number two, we had the capability. There are various, statements by our defense minister, even recently by Field Marshal. If we wanted, we could have, struck around about 20 jets. Yet we believed in peace, stability in the region. So they have got the understanding that Pakistan has got the capability. Yet this nation believes in a peaceful and coexistent relationship in the region. And what does it show? It shows the capability and the mindset of the Pakistani, that no matter what the environment is, yet it believes in a peaceful and coexistent relationship. However, if we see the US foreign policy, it is more or less it could be analyzed through the transactional relationship. For decades, the US has been engaging Pakistan through security lens, whether that is Afghanistan or through CT. So it's the very first time, other than the counter-terrorism, the US is engaging Pakistan on trade, economy, development, and most importantly, the US has shown interest doing investment on critical rare mineral. So one way or the other, it is mutually convenient. So how it goes a long way, how sustainable it is, that is a matter of question needs to be seen.
That is a point that needs to be discussed also quite in detail, and that's also been mentioned in the statement by the Inter-Services Public Relations as well. I'll move to that particular point later in the show. Specifically talking about the counter-terrorism efforts, as Dr. Munir, as you have already mentioned, we saw that very praise in the recognition of Pakistan's counter-terrorism efforts as far as that first the Union address of President Donald Trump is concerned, and also the CENTCOM chief also terming Pakistan as a phenomenal partner in counter-terrorism efforts. This particular meeting also touched upon this particular area. Let me once again quote that. President Trump in turn lauded Pakistan's ongoing efforts for regional peace and stability and appreciated the robust counter-terrorism cooperation between the two states. Both the sides reaffirmed their commitment to continued collaboration in the field of counter-terrorism. Now, terrorism, ISIS-K poses a threat. Their operations on the Afghan soil, a threat to what the US interests are. We have the major concern to the Fitna al-Khawarij operating from the Afghan soil. The repeatedly concern has been conveyed to the Afghan authorities also. There are other militant groups also, like Balochistan Liberation Army, using the Afghan soil to perpetrate these heinous acts inside Pakistan. This counter-terrorism cooperation, what likelihood of the future trajectory as far as addressing the threat that emanates from the Afghan soil is concerned between Pakistan and the US?
I think this is the opportune moment now that the earlier effort, we should now focus more on it, because the US and Pakistan in the previous years, they have been working on different things. For example, on development of the areas which have been some time back under the influence of the Taliban or their area before other operation, and then we went into different operations against terrorists. So in that way also the intelligence sharing and other information was area of cooperation. And similarly, to hit at the very ground from where the terrorists are have the basis, and secondly where from the recruitment things took place. On that area, US and Pakistan has been working on counter violent extremism in different forms, which could be the CVE related counter violence related things inside Pakistan and the adjoining areas. And there was a thematic areas on which both agreed, and even one of the major part of this counter violent extremism has been given now to NECTA, because Pakistan and Washington, Islamabad and Washington, they were of the view that we have to sort out extremism, terrorism before their the breeding grounds. These are the within the extremism. So that's why they separated it. Earlier things was under only anti-terrorism, but then there were two divisions. That before terrorism there are other areas where we have to work. Pakistan and US, they have been working for long on this area of CVE, counter violent extremism, and now in Pakistan the government has a lot of efforts, and things are moving on. For example, even on charity, government of Pakistan has been very clear on that, that some terrorist groups should not even take this charity market. So the Ministry of Information and other were part of the campaign, and this was rigorously done within these cities. And then there were some areas where it was said that the Taliban getting support, or the base from where they are recruiting in many part of the country, where these CVE activities were done. So that are now resulting in, and but this terrorism one was defeated, because we have been working side by side on anti-terrorism activities and on countering violent extremism. And then things were moving on. Suddenly, another waves came in, and now things are again moved in that direction. So I think this cooperation goes on, and that's why I think the operators from Afghanistan, they have warned, and with this new development, I guess now this situation will be rather tougher for them.
So given that particular fact, when President Donald Trump clearly mentioned Pakistan's efforts in the counterterrorism domain, also handing over that Abigail attack mastermind to the US, there's been collaboration as far as both the countries is concerned. What Pakistan could be expecting as far as addressing and dealing with that very threat of the fitna al-Khawarij that emanates from Afghan soil? I'll come back to you for that answer and understanding of yours on that particular front. We are also being joined by another participant in the show, Mr. Ali Sarwar Naqvi, former ambassador, joining us on the video link. Mr. Naqvi, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. First of all, your understanding regarding as to the major outcomes you are interpreting from this particular high-level engagement between President Donald Trump and Chief of Army Staff Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir. Also, in the light of the diplomatic strategy Pakistan had been following in the recent past, how effective that strategy and how important or a crucial role that diplomatic strategy played in making this particular engagement happen?
Well, you see, Pakistan's strategy has proved to be very well thought out and effective, because the very fact that General Asim Munir, the Field Marshal Asim Munir, was invited to the White House for a lunch uh, and meeting with President Trump is ample proof of the fact that the position that we have taken in regard to local matters, which means our eastern frontier, our dealings with India, and the western frontier, our dealings, our position in regard to Israel war, uh, and overall a regional perspective. Pakistan is for peace. It is a member of the UN Security Council, and the responsibility of the UN Security Council is the maintenance and upkeep of peace and security all over the world. And Pakistan has a responsibility under that role that it is now performing. Secondly, Pakistan is not for war. It opposes war. The first instance of our encounter with India and our riposte, our response to India when they unilaterally attacked Pakistan and areas inside Pakistan uh, was that we hit back and so effectively that five of their very advanced technology planes, the Rafales, were brought down. And then the other Su-400 was also brought down. So we have shot down six Indian planes, and that put a stop to their aggression. And then there was U.S. mediation because the President Trump has mentioned it many, many times, at least 15 to 20 times, that
Mr. Naqvi, at least for 14 times he has
at least for
mentioned
14
of,
times, yes.
yeah.
So, in all these situations, Pakistan has taken a very correct and principled stand. As regards the Israel war, Pakistan considers Israel to be the aggressor, and it feels that Iran has the right to develop and to maintain nuclear program, and Iran has done that and has continued to do so. It has always refused to even consider developing nuclear weapons. So Pakistan backs that and supports uh, the position of Iran as against that of Israel, which is in violation of international law and all the norms of uh, uh, state behavior. So these are the factors that have carried weight with the U.S. administration. And Field Marshal was invited to lunch at the White House. The U.S. president was pleased to acknowledge the importance of Pakistan in the first place. Secondly, to thank the Field Marshal for his role in stopping further escalation of the tensions between India and Pakistan, and to consult with him for regional issues
That's your
relating to.
point. The number of very important points that you've talked about, Mr. Naqvi. Let's specifically talk about that very mediation done by President Donald Trump as far as making India and Pakistan reach a ceasefire after India's unilateral aggression, breaching Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity. At least for the 14 times you've already mentioned, President Trump has talked about that particular mediation. Now, Prime Minister Modi had at least 35 minutes call with President Trump on Tuesday. There is a statement by their Foreign Secretary, Vikram Misri. Let me quote that also, that Prime Minister Modi told President Trump clearly that during this period there was no talk at any stage on subjects like the India-US trade deal or US mediation between India and Pakistan, unquote. Now, given the fact when President Trump for at least 14 times has claimed that he was the one who mediated that particular ceasefire, Pakistan supported that effort. Pakistan had the gratitude for that particular effort that was put in by President Donald Trump. What about the Indian side? Now, how significant this particular statement in the entire equation is when it comes from Prime Minister Modi right after that particular call with President Trump. He once again denies US role in that particular ceasefire reached between Pakistan and India. Do you think it's going to have a substantially detrimental effect on the bilateral relationship between the US and India?
Yes. You see, I think the Indian government and the Indian Prime Minister should realize that they should come clean. They should open up regarding what exactly happened. If they don't acknowledge the role of the United States, they are misleading the world. And this is not the first time that the Indians are misleading the world. Their foreign policy is a uh, concocted version of things that have taken place in the region. They try to pin the blame on Pakistan for uh, terrorism, which is totally baseless, because we ourselves are the victim of terrorism. All the countries in the region are fighting terrorism. This Shanghai Cooperation Organization, of which both Pakistan and India are members, one of its principal objectives is to counter terrorism, to face uh, the ravage of terrorism, the menace of terrorism. So India is trying to put the blame of this particular menace entirely on Pakistan, which is totally baseless, and it's a lie. It's a total distortion
Of course, that's
of
a lie,
the
Mr. Naqvi. Of course,
facts.
that's a lie. Now, this particular rebuttal that has come from India, from Prime Minister Modi, as to that mediation effort or the role played by President Donald Trump, how it is going to affect their relationship with the US. And on one side, we see
Badly.
President Trump still calling them with something really good when he says that these two very smart people, referring to our side, Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, also referred to the other side as well. So there is a clear difference of an understanding on both the sides as far as when it comes to the US and India and their bilateral relationship at this particular point in time is concerned.
Yes, I think it will affect their relationship very badly. In the past, you remember that the Indians were found involved in the plan to assassinate a US citizen of Indian origin who was, uh, saved, but he was under threat. And in Canada, the Indian agents killed a Sikh leader, Nijar, who was uh, totally innocent and had nothing to do with whatever they were charging him with. So India is carrying out assassination and is attempting assassination of individuals in other countries, which is highly reprehensible. It is not allowed under international law that you go to any other country and have people assassinated.
Yet, despite carrying out those assassinations and assassination attempts, Indians expect the relationship with the Westerns, especially with the US, to go on the same trajectory of being good. Mr. Naqvi, I'll come back to you. For now, we are honored to be joined on the phone line by Mr. Lieutenant General, retired Moinuddin Haider, senior analyst. General Haider, very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. General Haider, how are you looking at this particular high-level engagement between President Donald Trump and Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir? Quite a praise, and when specifically President Donald Trump saying that he was honored to meet the Chief of Army Staff, and also he had him there to thank that he did not go into war with India.
Yes, I think it's a very heartening that our army chief has been honored, and the president invited him to White House for a 1 hour discussion, which went on for 2 hours and a lunch. And he said very nice words about our army chief, saying that he understands the world situation, world problems, and their possible solutions. He praised him for his understanding, and he also thanked him for his listening to President Trump to stop the war with India and cooperated with him. So he had all the praises for him, and he's saying that I'm very proud to meet him, and it is a great honor. And well, these are very nice words to hear. And now behind these words, what wish list he has given
give to the overall trajectory of the bilateral, how bigger an impetus it is going to give to the overall trajectory of the bilateral relationship between the US and Pakistan? How far-reaching an impact it would have?
it will be seen. Words are there, statements are there, but what happens on the ground will tell us how successful this meeting has been. Whether, when he's talking about trade, well, will America give us some concessions and in tariffs and otherwise increase our quota for trade? Yes, that will help Pakistan and to help us in our development, of which I am quite sure our army chief must have highlighted about the minerals and about other things. At the same time, Pakistan is ready to cooperate in all matters of peace, bringing peace in this region or in this world. Pakistan plays its part. So, but if they are asking Pakistan to also help them against Iran by providing them some support by giving them some bases or some jumping ground from here to attack Iran, that of course Pakistan shouldn't agree, and that will be a very dangerous thing for this region to happen. So let us see these demands and these things will come out what actually their requirement is and what are they wanting us to do. But it is a good thing that America has said good things, and it is a good thing to tell India that we also have very good relations with America, and that they thought that India thought that they were a strategic partner, that they are a strategic partner of Israel as well as America, and all the world belongs to them. So I'm quite sure that this must have worried them a bit.
Right. So, General Haider, when we talk about the mediation that was done by President Donald Trump, of course supported by Pakistan, at that particular point in time, it's at least 14 times he has talked about it. Now there is a statement by Prime Minister Modi, and right after that very 35 minutes phone call with President Donald Trump, the Foreign Secretary is saying that Prime Minister Modi told President Trump clearly that during this period there was no talk at any stage of the subjects like the India-US trade deal and the US mediation between India and Pakistan. He goes on to say that Modi emphasized that India has not accepted mediation in the past and will never do. What does that indicate about the current relationship of India with the US?
We must understand, I think India also knows it very well, that if it comes on the negotiating table, the facts and the rules of partition and plebiscite and UN resolutions, they're going to lose their case if there is mediation by any third party. That is why in the Shimla agreement, they made it sure to say that this will remain a bilateral problem to be discussed amongst the two countries and to be solved by them, and no third party will be contacted. That means the problem should not be raised in the United Nations. And it is India's consistent stand that they will not accept mediation from any country, and they already, before that also, they have refused United States, and again, I don't think they will accept this.
Right. General Haider, specifically talking about that very situation in the region as far as Iran and Israel is concerned, the ISPR statement says the detailed exchange of views also took place on the prevailing tensions between Iran and Israel, with both the leaders emphasizing the importance of resolution of the conflict. President Trump commended Field Marshal Asim Munir's leadership and decisiveness during a period of complex regional dynamics. He is also, after that particular meeting with Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, Chief of Army Staff, Pakistan, he said that Pakistanis know Iran very well, better than most. So do we understand, is it a sort of an invitation when they acknowledge and recognize that Pakistan is all up for peace? Is it a sort of an invitation for Pakistan to play a role as far as de-escalating the situation is concerned?
Yes, Pakistan can play such a role. Pakistan also played such a role by General Ziaul Haq when they were fighting. There was a war between Iraq and Iran for 8 long years. And now Pakistan will be willing and happy that there is a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. and they come to the negotiating table, and there is a peaceful resolution of their differences, and there is give and take, and peace comes to this region. Pakistan will be happy to play that part, and I think Iran will also accept Pakistan's inclusion in this field, in this matter.
Lieutenant General retired Moin Haider, senior analyst, joining us on the phone line. Thank you very much for taking time out for Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Dr. Munir, now what should Pakistan be expecting when we have had a lot of sacrifices in the war on terror, those counterterrorism efforts, of course, praised by President Donald Trump. Now, what could we be expecting as to what sort of assistance we might be getting as far as the US assistance towards us is concerned, dealing and addressing with this resurgence of terrorism and the groups involved in it, which are operating, of course, from the Afghan soil?
I think the time will tell us that what are the outcome of this meeting. Certainly the situation inside Afghanistan and its impact on Pakistan would have been part of the discussion. And of course the rooting out of terrorism, the army chief or General Saab has already told about what we are doing inside to deal with the insurgent inside Pakistan. So that strategy would certainly be part of cooperation. Now globally what we want to reach is already arrived, which means that globally we want to establish that we are facing terrorism, we are fighting terrorism. So that has been done, and before US this acknowledgement has been seen at the UN when Pakistan has been elected to a UN body which oversees the matter relating to terrorism and anti-terrorism. So which means Pakistan's expertise on fighting against insurgencies and terrorism. Of course Pakistan has a long experience of fighting such wars, which is guerrilla war is not an easy, it's not a war which we fought with India or other kind of tactical war. That is very technically a war that Pakistan has gained experience. Now the world would like to gain that experience as well. Secondly, the part of the discussion is on the trade, and always whenever there is anti-terrorism or anti-extremism actions, always there are two kind of action. One is the kinetic, the other is non-kinetic.
Right.
And on cooperation, one is the military level cooperation or strategic cooperation. The other is development related cooperation, which means the trade and development relation would improve between Pakistan and US in future, and that we should expect. And that expectation doesn't mean that we will create a disbalance in the region. Pakistan has gained this position. We have been discussing over this forum when we were talking of Afghanistan, SU and other. I have always been of the opinion that Pakistan has a central role, a strategic role in the region, and that role has been established to my understanding and analysis.
How do you, I'll come back to you with this very important statement within that ISP-ASPR statement regarding as President Trump expressing keen interest in forging a mutually beneficial partnership with Pakistan. Mr. Panezai, I've followed Indian media. They're very not clearly happy as to this particular engagement between President Donald Trump, and naturally that is very much understandable. What sort of a message do you think it would be taken as far as their authorities are concerned? That particular phone call between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi happened before this particular engagement, and that statement of rebuttal of that very mediation played by US President Donald Trump as far as that ceasefire between the two countries is concerned, that came before, and this particular engagement happened after. And I've already mentioned the media doesn't seem to be clearly happy regarding that. So in the overall larger scheme of things, how big a setback do you think this is for India as far as their relationship with the US is concerned?
That's a very pertinent question. Before I respond to this question, going back, the US foreign policy, as I just mentioned prior to that, has been based on transactional relationship. Now we see the current reset in Pakistan-US relationship. We need to analyze how sustainable it is, whether or not is it a personalized one or institutionalized one. If it remains, if it continues, goes a long way at the institutional level, it will provide a very positive and very effective dividends for Pakistan, not only the counterterrorism domain, but as well as the economic and political and other domains, number one. Number two, as far as, because all states pursue their national interest, because here the Trump administration obviously looking for the area of commonalities where they can capitalize or leverage on, and that is the as just I mentioned, critical real minerals, where they are, you know, they are looking for an agreement that would be I do believe mutually convenient one, which are used largely in robotics, electronics, and so on and so forth. That is one part of it, because both states are going to pursue their own interest. Responding to your question, no doubt, Indian media, the war mongering, they cannot digest the reality. Not once, not twice, repeatedly, the Trump administration and their officials have said it clearly that the Indians approached the Trump administration for the ceasefires. So they have been saying quite clearly, candidly, repeatedly, but since it is a huge, as you just mentioned, huge setback on the diplomatic front of the Indians, despite their they dispatched diplomatic missions to the European capitals, to the America, but they faced a fiasco. So what does it show? They are lying, as just Ambassador Saab rightly mentioned. They are unable to digest the reality. And one of the positive aspect after the meeting of the Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir Saab with the Donald Trump, once again the issue of Pakistan has received international image, and that is very positive one, because Trump has shown his willingness to provide his good offices to resolve the Kashmir issue. So once again, once the Kashmir issue, the Kashmir went to the back burner after the Operation Banyan or Marsus, it came again into the limelight. So what does it show? It shows the success of Pakistan, not only in the military front, but as well as the diplomatic front, that Kashmir is still relevant, and this time we showed our capability through our conventional means, and we give a very befitting response to our twice larger army in the conventional domain. So that's one of the areas Trump got impressed by the strong leadership of the armed forces of Pakistan.
Right, Dr. Munir, your quick last closing comment as to what sense do you make of this thing when this ISPR statement also says a detailed exchange of views took place on the prevailing situation as far as Iran and Israel is concerned. President Trump speaking to media saying that Pakistanis know Iran very well, better than the most. Do we understand, is there any significant role as far as de-escalating the situation lying with Pakistan? Does that statement indicate some sort of a dimension like that?
I do not have a news, but I have a feel after this meeting, at least the threatening tone is not coming up from Trump. I have no news, but you know what I feel, which mean Field Marshal must have told the realities, what is going on in the region, because it is not what Israel says, or because you know sometime sitting on the presidency in US is following the tone of the Israeli lobby. That's true, and that's why maybe President Trump is obliged to give some of the situation accordingly. But once this meeting took place, all the regional realities were brief, because General Asim Munir, he was not going just a plain person. He has an analysis which President has admitted, and he had a conversation with the regional leaders from UAE, Saudi Arabia, China, and other regional players. So this kind of regional situation, when he would have briefed, so this is my analysis,
so that's why,
that would have worked.
That's why President Donald Trump has said the Pakistanis know Iran very well, better than the most. Dr. Shafqat Munir, senior analyst, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Mr. Sangeen Khan, Panezai, security analyst, expert in international relations, thank you very much also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.